Hey, welcome back, everyone. Happy Saturday to you. Our topic today is the evil deed. Today is day 12 of our devotional series. Genesis chapter 37 is our reading for the day. So we see this story here where Joseph, who is Jacob's son, his youngest son, has this dream that the sun, moon, and stars bow down to him. And oftentimes, this is in Hebrew literature and just in apocalyptic literature in general. The celestial beings are often symbols for powers and governments and people. And so, obviously, his brothers here knew that the stars weren't going to literally come and bow down to him. They knew that it meant Joseph was going to rule over them. And they were upset by his dream. So let's look at the questions. We have 5 today, and a few are statements, but the first question is, describe Joseph's dreams and tell why they made his brothers angry. Well, we just kind of said, he has this kind of apocalyptic picture of the heavens, if you will, being in submission to him. And they realize that he, or God, or his interpretation of the dream is that God is going to put him in power and control in some way over them. And he's the youngest who shouldn't be ruling over them. So this angers them. Number 3, do you see how jealousy breeds hatred and can lead a man to commit evil acts that they later regret? So this is a question that you could talk about, think about. But yeah, they were jealous that the younger brother had this relationship with God, if you will, had this revelation from God, or at least maybe they didn't even believe he had it, but that he was thinking that he had it. So they were jealous that he felt special. He was supposed to be just like one of them. So anytime you get out of the gang or the group think, or think that you have something special, that God has shown you something special, that God has done something for you, that you have a personal relationship with God, that's going to make people upset. They want you to be just like them. Come down to their level. All right? Sometimes the least judgmental people, we see that as a good thing, but the least judgmental people are the most sinful people. The murderers, the rapists. You go into any bar, people are going to, you could do whatever. Go in there and say, I'm cheating on my wife. No big deal, man. We're here for you, right? People like that. People think that's cool, and people are there for them and don't judge them. But it's actually the opposite. I mean, no one wants to just be judged hypocritically, right? No one wants to just be judged for every little thing they do. But when someone doesn't look out for your own good, if you can walk in there and say, I'm going to go drink and drive, if you can go in there and say, I'm going to cheat on my wife, if you can go in there and say, I'm going to steal and rob and all this stuff, right? Yeah, they're not judging you, but they're wishing evil upon you because judgment follows sin like night follows day. It's inevitable. Number 4, note how the news about Joseph affected his father, Jacob, and can you see how evil can affect innocent people? So again, this is something for you to think and talk about with your family or just by yourself if you're doing this devotional individually. But yeah, it definitely affected Jacob, right? He was weeping. He wanted to die. Just go, I want to die and go see my son again, is basically what he says. So it's sad here that he lives most of the end of his life thinking that his son dies. And we won't get to the story yet where it's revealed to him, or we'll get there, right? But we haven't read it yet where he realizes Joseph is alive. But think of all the pain and grief they caused their father. Not just Joseph, but their father, whom they claim to love. So lying, sin, it never brings about good things. They didn't really get any benefit from it. They were just mad about it, right? So they sold him off because they didn't want to be convicted, or they didn't want to hear him thinking he's better than them. But they brought about grief to their father. They brought out grief to Joseph. They killed an animal for no purpose at all. They didn't even eat him. They didn't sacrifice him. They just killed him, right? So many things suffered because of this sin. 5, we see that deceit followed the family line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob himself was deceived by his own sons and suffered because of it. So this isn't really a question, but there's a statement thrown in there, and I think it's true. Oftentimes, what people say today is that's karma coming around. Now, karma is an Eastern Hindu idea that isn't biblical. It's not true. There isn't this force called karma out there. But the Bible does say we reap what we sow. So it's not karma. It's called God's judgment, or the way God has set the universe in motion. So there's not this impersonal force called karma that just comes and gets you back. But we reap what we sow. If we do good, good things return. If we do wicked, wicked things return to us. Sometimes there could be that we could do good and there's persecution. But even in that situation, right, the Lord will be the one to reward us. So we still reap what we sow. But in sin, we're always going to reap bad things. We must remember that. These brothers try to sell away their youngest brother to stop his annoyance. So they're trying to do a sinful act to bring about some form of joy or happiness or peace or whatever in their life. And in the short and long run, it just leads to pain, sadness, and misery, as all sin does. Let us remember that. Sin never promises, never gives when it promises, it never fulfills. Promises a lot, delivers a little, and we always reap what we sow. Even when we're believers, there is a reaping to what we sow. And so even here in these stories of these godly men, sometimes they did ungodly things, they pass that down to their children, and it comes back to bite them. But have a happy Lord's Day tomorrow. I'll see you guys Monday